went around and sued a handful of people. It wasn't a very big deal. There weren't that many lawsuits, etc. But what happened was that companies realized this is not efficient, right? They can't just put their products out there and then go around and sue people for copying them. That's extremely inefficient. So what do is that you can't really buy music anymore, right? The music that you get is all on streaming services. So you don't own your own copy of the music that now you can share with somebody else in a peer-to-peer thing. This happened with software as well, right? I mean, you don't buy software anymore. You don't have access to the source code. What you have is you buy a subscription to the web-based software thing, and you don't see the source code. You just have to have a subscription to the use of the software. You don't own the software. So what the law did was that initially it provided a means for remedy, but then it kind of told people that those means for remedy are insufficient, and you need to go find another way, a practical way of doing this, and people did that by removing the source code and by putting a whole bunch of coding in front of it so nobody could copy it. This is what I think is going to happen here, is that we're going to get some laws, but at the end, those laws are not going to be extremely effective. Instead, what we're going to find is another technology is going to come around so that people will take pictures and record voices and things like that using that technology so that it can't be copied anymore. That would be my guess for what's going to happen.
I'm confused. I mean, given the AI technology of simulating human likenesses and human voices, I mean, how does that tie into what you just said? I mean, there's really no copying involved.
No. That there's going to be a technology that can identify this thing as a copied as an AI image and not the real image.
Sam, let me just throw in a couple of quick thoughts here. So I know that the major business proprietary sort of answer has been fingerprint things, watermark things. And then this law, I believe, comes from the school of thought where people say, yeah, but this is either currently or soon to be indistinguishable. There's no way to watermark it. And really quick, just last thing. And so, I'm sorry, I'm walking myself. So the last thing is, so 2 years ago I created this legal brief AI assistant that, as a non-attorney, I thought this is an interesting idea, so I worked on it for a bit. Not into the age of agentic, autonomous, voice simulating or internet scouring, agentic AI models. However, now, if I were to go back to that, I would add a headless or a swarm of headless browsers, the ability to go on, everywhere on the internet, to work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if I had enough GPU and compute power, I would have billions of these things scouring the universe for cases, kind of like, prospectors, looking for gold deposits around the world. I mean, does this in any way play into this? So if this law was enacted and there was a way to...
Sorry, I didn't really understand what you said. If you could explain it.
I do. Yeah, I mean, those exist today, right? Those exist. Let's put it in really general terms so it has nothing to do with Denmark or real people's faces. If you have a protectable asset where you are entitled to a remedy if that asset appears on the internet, is there a way to scour the internet so that you don't need to just hope that one of your buddies notices.
The Magus. The objects Mercury juggles represents different realms of communication. Coins, fire, wand, arrows, scroll, winged cup with snake, sword, body, matter, finance, inspiration, transformation,
whatever you refer to it
dynamics.
as, within your system of legal teamwork that you do in your private practice or wherever.
Well, again, I'm taking it outside of the context of legal particularly. I mean, real world examples, Reuters. Reuters does scan the internet. I mean, they don't do it themselves, but they have a company that does it, that just scans the internet constantly, searching for photos that are Reuters copyrighted. And it doesn't do it by identifying the subject of the photo or a human getting some envelope full of photos and then it looks at them. I mean, it's obviously all done digitally. And when they find a Reuters photo that's being used without authorization, they automatically send a takedown notification, a demand letter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no reason that same thing couldn't exist for every human face in Denmark, every human voice in Denmark. I don't think it will, for reasons I've already explained. It wouldn't be worth it, but the technology certainly exists.
I recall you wanted to speak when I was sort of going on. Really, the word I was looking for was a paralegal agent, artificial agent. And Steve, you did kind of, in some ways, answer my question that this stuff already exists. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, in the patent world, we constantly do this, right? For some clients, I have monthly. For some clients, I have weekly searches set up. Their companies, we do this, that they basically scour scientific literature for some keywords that are specific to my client's technology, and if those keywords show up, we'll then look up to see, are they infringing our patent or not? This is routinely done. It's kind of like so routine that you talk to any IP attorney, they'll tell you the name of 5 companies that do this for them. So as Steve says, it's just a question of having the technology that can do that. It's not a question of do we do these things or not. Yes, we do it.
So I just Dr. Gibbs, can I just clarify one other thing? Just because I always, no disrespect to Sam, nothing he has said is inaccurate, but I want to make sure people don't come away with the wrong impression. The Grokster case, everyone knew that the people using the peer-to-peer networks were committing copyright infringement. The question was whether Grokster was liable because they weren't doing any of the copying, right? They issued software that enabled people to infringe by copying music without Grokster or its servers being involved. So the novel, if there was a novel question, was Grokster's liability, even though Grokster wasn't the one doing the copying.
That's the connective tissue.
And the Supreme Court said, yes, even though you found a clever way to remove yourself from the copying chain, since you created the software, and this is really the only thing the software does, you are in effect secondarily liable. I mean, they weren't clear about which theory. They said one way or another, you're definitely liable for copyright.
But Steve,
so that was what was unique about the case.
Yes.
Is that they weren't doing any copying themselves.
I'd like to
their consumers were doing the copying.
Really quick, so wait, hold on. Let me just nudge it really quick. So I do see that as the connective tissue because I can imagine if I'm Denmark and I really had it with Facebook fake news messing with my election cycle or other various things because I really value the rights of my citizens, if that's the case, and I want to have a way to get some teeth into companies like Meta and other companies that propagate these things, then you have a way to find per instance of copyright, probably larger sums of money against them, at least as a start towards fighting against it. And I just thought of one of the kind of quote unquote nefarious use cases that I took me until now. So perhaps the thing it's tied to is not a number. Perhaps the face, the voice, the body become a new version of a fingerprint, because we use fingerprints to personally identify people just like we use DNA. And so maybe the face, voice, and body are the new version of a fingerprint, including the iris, and et cetera. And my question then is, for those privacy, people who value privacy, would they want that to be the case? Because I could see how then those pieces of information, those data are stored into some kind of central database, how that can have all sorts of problematic things for, personal privacy. And is this kind of the dawning of the death of privacy? And again, go ahead. I think that's all I have.
Okay, wait.
I'm sorry. I know I'm not an attorney, so I'm really
No. Well, the question that you ask is extremely fair. Going back to what Steve said, and that kind of ties in with what you're asking, is that the court in Rochester didn't come up with new law. Instead, it applied the already existing law in a novel situation.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Whereas Denmark here is, on that we agree completely, right? It just said, look, this is copyright law. You're doing this based on our precedent. You're infringing. And when we read the decision, we're like, yeah, it sounds okay. But what Denmark is doing is setting up new law from what we understand what Denmark is trying to do. It is trying to set up new law which is completely at odds with the tradition of copyright law that we've had since WIPO was established in 1970. So I don't think these two are at all the same. And I also think that Dr. James, I don't think we need to sit here and devise new laws to deal with this. The first thing we have to do is kind of what the court in Rochester did. Apply the already existing laws.
Israel has so much security and so much, proof of who you are. I assume that what do they do?
But the thing is that we have much stronger privacy and civil liberty laws than they do. And we're in a completely different security environment than they are. So some of these draconian measures that other countries use are not proper under our laws. So we could get inspiration from them, but we can't necessarily copy them. And so I was going to say, I think what's going to happen is that we're going to apply the existing laws. And if they don't work, then the court signals Congress and says, guys, we need help here. Exactly what they did with the MCA. That the courts kind of like ran out of options for electronic, digital files. They turned to Congress, and Congress passed these. And I think something like this will happen.
Can I add something? Yes. Exactly relevant to what we're talking about. So, yeah, it's kind of amazing. So Rochester, again, Rochester found, if there's anything unique about it, it says, by creating a piece of software that will be used to copy songs, you are liable for copyright infringement. And again, I would say that it did make a little new law, because up until then I would say it was unclear whether and how that would constitute actually being an infringement. It wasn't some graphic utility. So the court just held a couple hours ago libel, and they're not protected just because they're a platform. So this whole question of, the protection that platforms get, at what point, what kind of knowledge do they have to have before they actually have some affirmative duty to do something? And if they don't do it, they become contributorily liable for copyright infringement. So the Fourth Circuit said Cox was liable, but the Supreme Court has just granted cert. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to overturn the Fourth Circuit, but it does mean that the case is going to be argued next term.
And so to that point, I don't want to bring it up because it's a very complicated thing. Is that the other thing that Grokster did was that it brought in this concept of indirect infringement from that was big practice or was a legal theory in patent law for over 100 years, brought that into copyright law. And so again, didn't make new law, but applied already existing law to a new situation.
Well, this has been brilliant, and I really honestly, Sam and Steve, thank you so much for playing along with this, because I feel like I'm learning so much right now, and I really wish we could go on for another hour. I feel like this is a good time to begin to take the slow descent down, probably a faster descent down. So how about if anyone has any final thoughts, anyone on stage will land this plane, and hopefully all of us walk out safe and alive and ready to meet our family members.
So I do apologize earlier about seemingly going off topic with data sovereignty. But if you listen carefully to the conversation that was had, it eventually gets narrowed down to data sovereignty. Data sovereignty is the control of data you generate, including where it can be stored, who can access it, and how it can be used. And the amount of biometric behavioral data that we emit on our devices, even on this platform itself, a lot can be found out about one's personality and a lot of behavioral biometrics. So that data can therefore be used to generate deepfakes, and this is why data sovereignty is essential to the conversation eventually.
Yeah, thank you for that, dude. I really appreciate that. Anyone else? Well, doing the kind of the 3-second countdown in my brain. If no one else has any comments, today was a discussion by Sam and Steve on upcoming Denmark law and some related topics of data sovereignty and all sorts of other things. This was really this was awesome and totally spontaneous, and I really just appreciated listening and learning a bit. So I guess here we are. Time to go. See you all tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Goodbye, everyone.
Tell your defense lawyer to tell the jury that this is a modern love story. This man is delusional. We already know.
And having been a financial advisor in the town that Dell started in for a long time, there's all sorts of stories, but there's a shit ton of people that have been at Dell and have basically the same experience, that you get washed through this middle management set of BS, and you understand the ethos of the company and blah blah blah. So she was not pissed. She moved to an area that's not even close to Austin and has no friends and doesn't know where to go. And I got a number, we exchange numbers in case she stays in town, but she's already checked out. As soon as she doesn't have to be here or at Dell to pay back her signing bonus and stuff, she's checked out. But she's professional, so she's younger. She's early 30s. And these people have done great things, gotten MBAs, but her taste of Texas is colored completely by Dell telling her 6 months after working there that everybody's got to come into the office, so she had to move from Long Island, or no, Pennsylvania, I think this is where they were living, with her partner, and essentially got called into work, and she doesn't have any friends, she's overworked, and it's going to burn her out, and so she's going to leave Texas without ever really having experienced it, and that just kind of sucks. So, yeah, it's just wild that stereotypes can prevail when people don't have, I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe. If you're not from Texas, to say that was probably an awful housing decision, but it was economized for, if you're going to live sort of close to work and you want to live affordably, live in Hutto. It's like on the outskirts and it'll be fine. And so they were like, hey, do you know where we can get a Hutto? Because I know that they're making fun of how backward, basically, where she chose to settle into. And it just kind of sucks because it's all driven by so much of the 20 years of growth in Austin that's priced people, especially young people, into the outskirts, that if they're not super young and they don't kind of pay the inner urban tax, then they really won't acclimate, or whatever it would be called here. Because all the fun stuff that young people do is not out in this rural area where it's super affordable. I'm not sure that brought anything, but we got an audience here now, so there you go.
That's the same issue, David. Exactly the same issue. And, it's because of the fast growth. The people like me have been here for a long time, live in the, in the, quote, inner city, unquote, where the action happens. And other people live in the suburbs. And there's really, if you're not married with kids and putting them through school, nothing happened.
And the irony is she'd been in Tempe and Scottsdale before that last move, and what she was tired of is moving somewhere and doing all that stuff to make friends with your partner and go out, meet people. She just was kind of over it, and maybe that's actually what resulted in her not living so centrally to Austin, but I just kind of felt like, man, I really wish young people had a little bit easier entry, and it wasn't just to liquidate their ability to work hard, and then burn them out, and then they get jaded and leave. So there you go.
Young people generally like Scottsdale.
No, I mean, I think she enjoyed it. Like, so her mid to late 20s, she did it in Scottsdale. She has a partner, all that stuff. And they were fine until Dell made them come into the office and relocate and start over again. So it was essentially a come back into the office mandate.
Oh, I see.
That she was telling me the reason she went to Dell wasn't the money, it wasn't this, it was the feature of being able to work from home, and then they rug pulled her. Or that's what she feels.
So there you go. Thank you, David. I just wanted to, and try to ignore it, but we have our daily asshole.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Oh, is Andrew here? Anyway, I just want to get this out of the way, that we have this asshole down below.
He's recording us right now.
And he's recording us so that everybody knows that. We don't want to make that. But he is, he's a maggot.
That we care,
Well, no, I know. But I just want to make sure that anybody who's listening to it on YouTube knows that he's a really horrible, awful human being. He claims to be a veteran. He's not a veteran. He's actually a convicted felon. He's a scumbag. He's he's this incel that sits in the basement of his mother's house. He hasn't had a job in years. This is what he does for a living. Is he records everybody's stuff. He's not funny, and we're looking into him, and we've been complaining directly, and we're going to get him kicked off YouTube and kicked off Clubhouse. He lives, I think, in Rockland County, Illinois. We have his number. We know where he lives. We have his telephone number. He will eventually leave. But that's it. We're done with him. We will ignore him. But if anybody else wants to look into him and wants to complain either to YouTube or to Clubhouse, his little YouTube biography is up there on the top. Okay, enough. I won't talk about him anymore. Anyway, I will talk about my little scare yesterday. Two of my favorite living beings are in my PTR. And then this is Wimba and Napolka. And Wimba is, they're sisters, and they were the Canadian ambassador here in Burkina Faso and Ouagadougou took in a stray cat very close to the beginning of us moving in. And it surprisingly was pregnant, and it had 7 kittens, and we took 2 of the 2 calico female kittens, and they've just been incredibly wonderful companions, especially for me, who's stuck here in the embassy all day, and we're getting ready to take them to New York. As we're leaving, we're going to be in New York starting October 1st, and all of the things you have to do to arrange to get animals transferred from Africa to the United States. And I don't know if anybody else has ever done that. I'd love to talk to them. I have as much information as I can get. But there is, we have a veterinarian. Veterinarian medicine here is not very sophisticated. And it's actually pretty hard to find somebody to do things. And but they wanted, apparently we needed to send some blood samples out to France to get verified to make sure that they don't have any diseases. And getting blood from a cat is not so easy, as we found out. And basically what happened was the veterinarian used general anesthetics and knocked them out. And one cat's bigger than the other, even though they're sisters, one cat's bigger than the other. And the bigger cat, it was no problem. They found the vein that took out the blood and knocked the cat out, and he's fine. The second one, the little one, they just could not get any blood out of him. And they tried, and then they started waking up, so they had to give her a muscle relaxant. Well, that calmed her down, but I don't know, she has so many holes poked in her. All 4 limbs, they tried to get it. They got a little bit, but they don't even know if they got enough. But it was just torture. I couldn't take it anymore. It's like enough. So we decided to leave it be, and then we're gonna hopefully there's enough blood there, and if not, they'll come back. They said that the veterinarian said that the cat should wake up within a couple of hours, and so we thought the other one was fine, but this one did not wake up. It didn't wake up. 4 hours went by, 5 hours. We called up the vet. He said, look, he was going to see if he could, it's a Sunday, so it's not easy to find stuff. So he was going to go find some, special medicine that would, wake him up, that would increase his blood pressure and heart rate. And he couldn't find, he's looking all over the place, 7 hours, 8 hours, and I'm like, he's dead. I'm sorry, I keep doing the gender thing. I thought she was like totally dead. You could barely see any breath. And, we're thinking about, oh my God, what are we going to do? What do we even do with the dead cat? It's like, I'm thinking all these, it's like, it's already gone, she's dead. It was like really horrible. It just limp sitting there in my lap. The vet gets there. I put the cat down on the couch, and he covered it. I don't know why. Thinking it was dead. And the vet comes in, opens up the door, and the cat's gone. And we're looking And not Poca, we call him Pokey. And Pokey's over there on the left, and Wimba, which means queen in Moray, is on the right.
One thing that I've learned, of course I'm not a veterinarian, so I don't know, but with my pets is that hydrating them as much as possible before they get blood taken is super important. And what I do is I give them a lot of salt in their food so they get thirsty.
Oh, interesting.
And then they drink like crazy, and the blood is right there. So anyway.
No, I wish I would have talked to you before. Jeez, it was really horrendous. I mean, you know, in both cases, watching the poor thing getting tortured, and then secondly thinking it's dead. It's like it was horrible. I never thought I'd